Hey guys, Johnny B here, also known as Johnny Belinda Hopkins, new published author of the book titled God's Gift to You, Book One. How you guys doing? I haven't been up here on live on my YouTube for some time now. I just felt like I needed to take a little mental health break from doing my live and, just taking some time out to be in communication with my higher power, whom I choose to call God. I also took a little trip down to North Carolina with some family members, a much needed break, a long drive, but it was worth it. Anyhow, guys, how you guys doing out there? It is Monday, December 11th, and we are getting ready for the holiday season. Yes. So, I want to talk to you guys about the holiday season. So, I know, like a lot of people in religion, as you guys know, I myself refer to myself as being a spiritual being. I don't necessarily believe in quote unquote religion just because it is so much information to process and it can be very confusing and very contradicting. Um, so, in order for me to get closer to my higher power, whom I choose to call God, I cannot let religion stop me from having a relationship with my higher power because religion is so contradicting that sometimes I can build up this wall because I get like very caught up in the religious aspect of it. But at the same time, I don't want it to stop me from having a relationship with my higher power, whom I choose to call God. So hence that be the meaning when I say that I'm not a very religious person because there's so many different types of religion. You have the Nation of Islam, you have Buddhism, you have Christianity, and I'm sure the list goes on. And to each his own, God did give us the freedom of choice. I myself follow Christianity. I study it, I research it. Um, because I am in close relation with, like I said, my higher being, which I choose to call God, and these are the tools that come with my higher being. We have the Holy Bible, which is how God intended us to live out our life. The bread. You cannot sit here and say that you believe in God but not practice the tools that God gave us to help us build our relationship with him, to get to know him, to grow in him. So yes, I do study the Holy Bible even though it is very contradicting. um Again, I have to ask my higher power to open my mind and open my heart to this information so that I am better able to process it, um, and not let it stop me from having that relationship with my God. This is not what this video is about, though, but I talk about God a lot, especially which is the title of my book, God's Gift to You, Book One. And when I talk about God's gift to you, I am not talking about quote unquote religion. I'm talking about the gifts that I got along the way. So as I tell my horrific story about my horrific childhood, I always state that I did get some good along the way. The gift of knowledge, the gift of wisdom, the gift of strength, the gift that I survived a lot of things that a lot of people, you know, don't survive, whether it be physically or mentally. In my book titled God's Gift to You, I talk about some of the children who didn't make it out of my neighborhood, and the gift that I got was that I survived it. I talk about how some of those other children did make it out of those neighborhoods physically, but mentally, some of them stayed stuck. So that's another gift that I got out of my story, is that I was able to mentally go on, even though I talk about having a mental health disease, um, which is depression. um, I am still able to receive information, to process information, and understand the information that is being presented to me. So I wanted to, first of all, let's slow down. Yes, I have my Mr. Grinch sweatshirt on today. What does it say? It's good to be bad. Oh, right here. Wait a minute. I'm on screen, so I don't know which is left and which is right. So this one says, no, I'm on this side. Okay, so this one says it's good to be bad. Now, when I say it's good to be bad, we're not talking about anything crazy, because like I said, I am a child of God and I don't do anything like outside of, what my higher being tells me is acceptable behavior and what's not acceptable behavior. But I'm not perfect. I am a human being. So yes, I have on my Grinch. It's the spirit of Christmas. It's good to be bad. What does this say? Misunderstood. Oh my goodness, misunderstood. That's a good one. We could talk about being misunderstood in a little bit. But yeah, I'm in the holiday spirit, guys. I got my Mr. Grinch sweatshirt on. Got my little Christmas hat on. I'm not going to say Santa, and I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to say Santa. But when I talk about God's gift to you guys, yes, let it be known. I am 54 years of age. God has been so good to me. This is my real hair. There's no wig or extensions, my own teeth. It's not to toot my own horn. I'm trying to show you guys what God can do, because if you have read my book, God's Gift to You, book one, right? You haven't even read my second book, which is already written, and I'm going to be getting that published soon. So the story continues on. But the point in all this is just to say that some people, when they've had a hard life, it shows on them. I myself had battled the disease of addiction. I have 18 years clean from that. And I've met a lot of people like myself in my age range who also battled the disease of addiction, but they don't have their real teeth. And that's okay. This is not to throw stones at anyone or make anyone feel less worthy or less valued, okay? This is my story, and I'm just trying to share with you guys what God has done for me. So, like I said, even though I went through a period of time where I did battle the disease of addiction, and for some of us, we weren't, I'm going to be careful with the words that I use here. So for some of us, we weren't as, I'm not going to say as blessed, because we are all blessed. Okay. Let's just like get rid of that. I hate when people be like, oh, God blessed me. Like, what are you talking about? God blesses everybody. You think God's going to bless one of us and not bless the rest of us? Anyhow, I know you guys, this is what I mean by having a mental health disease. So I have these racing thoughts, and I just be like going, and I'd be all over the place. Pray for me. I pray for myself too. Anyhow. So yeah, I'm 54 years old. I had a rough life, but it doesn't show on me and again, that's one of the gifts that I got along the way, is that I'm 54 years old. This is my real hair. no extensions or anything like that. Get put my hat back on. I'm trying to be in the Christmas spirit. Okay, here we go. Yeah, there we go. Plus, it keeps me warm. Anywho, so yes, I do have a mental health disease, which is called depression. It comes with anxiety and panic attacks, and we're going to get into that in a minute. We're going to address that. But again, even with a mental health disease like depression and anxiety and panic attacks, like I am still able to process information. I got to slow down. So I do have a script because you guys know when you have a mental health disease, mine, which is depression, it comes with anxiety and panic attacks. And I get like these racing thoughts. Like it goes by so fast that, if I don't grasp the information while I can, I could lose it. It's so much information and so much knowledge and so much of life experiences, good and bad, and it's all just scrambled up in there and it just shoots by so fast that if I have to grab the information that I need at this time to be able to articulate it in words, but if I don't catch the thoughts before they go by, I could lose it, and sometimes I can get it back and sometimes I can't. So I have to write things down when I'm doing a live so that it helps to keep me focused and on my topics and what I want to present to you guys today. Anyhow, so I want to start off with talking about Christmas. Okay. And again, in religion, when you research the Holy Bible, there is no real evidence of the exact day, week, or month that Jesus was born. You cannot find that information anywhere in the Holy Bible. And everybody who talks about it, like there's a lot of controversy behind it. And some religious people will even go as far as to look down upon people who celebrate Christmas on the date of December 25th because they let the religious aspect keep them from being open minded. And to the religious gurus out there, I want to say to you that yes, while I am in agreement with you guys as far as no one really knowing the exact day, week, or month that Jesus was born, I am in agreement with that. But also, let's be careful because the Bible also tells us, right, that we don't want to push religion down. We don't want to force feed religion to people. Yes, we want to gather souls and bring them to Christ. But again, we have to be careful with our religious beliefs and trying to force those religious beliefs onto other people because some people might get like, you know, it can be a bit much, which is why I myself try to go the route in a way that I'm not trying to force feed religion on people. Um, and understanding that people have the freedom to choose. Like I said, there are different religions out there. You have the Nation of Islam, you have Buddhism, you have Christianity, and I'm sure there's a lot more. Okay. And it can all be contradicting and confusing. So I myself like to just remove the religious aspect and put it to the side for a minute and let's get to the spiritual nature of it. Okay. Although we all can disagree about religion, some of us may refer to a higher being as Allah. Some of us may refer to our higher being as God, and I'm sure there are other names that people refer to their higher being as. But the one thing we can all agree on is that there is something within us that is greater than us, that we look toward for guidance, knowledge, wisdom, protection. Okay. Doesn't matter what you call it. Let's keep it into the spiritual aspect of it, and not so much the religious aspect of it, okay? Now, getting back to what I was saying about Christmas, okay, and celebrating it on December 25th. Now, we have a wide range of holidays. You have Thanksgiving, very controversial in celebrating Thanksgiving amongst the indigenous people. I myself am an indigenous person. I am Narragansett Indian, and there's a whole lot of controversy about people celebrating Thanksgiving. I myself like to eat. I do participate in celebrating Thanksgiving, even though it is very controversial to my people. But again, I love to eat. You have New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. People like to party, start their new year, drink, celebrate life. You have Valentine's Day for those lovers in the world, people coupled up, or, it's not even about the couples and relationships. For me, Valentine's Day is just about love in general, whether you shower that love upon your parents or your children or your siblings, extended family members, cousins, aunts, uncles. It's just a day to appreciate the love that you have for each other, okay? There's a lot of religious opinions about celebrating Valentine's Day because, again, people get caught up in the religious aspect, which keeps them closed minded. Like they don't have an open mind beyond what they know. Okay. Um, St. Patrick's Day for the Irish people, right? I mean, unless you're Irish, you don't really care about St. Patrick's Day. But I got to tell you, this is a funny story. My mother was born on St. Patrick's Day. My mother is a Black woman, very dark skin in color. Her name is Linda, which is not a typical Black person's name. Her middle name is Susan, which again is not a typical Black person's name. Um, but because St. Patrick's Day is my mother's birthday, we celebrate it. We celebrate not so much St. Patrick's Day, but we celebrate my mother's birthday on St. Patrick's Day. Anywho, um, okay, so from there you have Easter, which is the resurrection of Christ. The Passover. Not a lot of people um, like to celebrate Easter. Again, Easter, you have the Easter bunny. We're going to get into that stuff. Okay, guys, give me a minute. St. Patrick's Day, 4th of July. I mean, there's so many holidays that we celebrate, right? So for the religious gurus out there, right? Let's not get hung up on the fact that we don't know exactly what day, week, or month Jesus Christ was actually born. Let's just be grateful that society has given us this day, December 25th, as a day of recognition of the fact that obviously people know, whether they actually realize it or not, right? They obviously know that Jesus existed. Why else would they give us December 25th to acknowledge the birth of Jesus Christ? I'm grateful for that. I don't care that it's not actually the day, week, or month that he was born. The fact that people acknowledge that Christ was born, and we, what's the word I want to use? We designate December 25th to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. Of course, for us religious gurus, for me, I like to celebrate Jesus every day. But Christmas is a special day because it's not just me celebrating Jesus or the birth of Jesus or acknowledging that he existed. Is a wide range of people who actually acknowledge that Jesus existed. So for me, it's like, yay. Okay, let's get into Santa Claus. As religion teaches us, right? We shouldn't have any other gods other than God. We should not worship idols, okay? And a lot of people will look at Santa Claus and think, oh, that's an idol or that's a god. I'm going to give you a different perspective on that, okay? I myself don't have any other gods. I have one God, and that's God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, okay? I myself do not worship idols. But for me, Santa Claus, it's not about him being an idol or a god or a symbol. For me, Santa Claus is about the spirit of Christmas because a lot of people have a hard time getting into the spirit of Christmas. And we as a people created this image of this man, okay? And we can get very controversial about this Santa Claus, just like we do Jesus. A lot of people get caught up on where they're from, their nationality, the color of their skin, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on. But again, for some of us, right, we have a hard time getting into that Christmas spirit, even though we know it's the day that we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. Some people need a little bit more to help them get them into that spirit, which is why they created this Santa Claus. Now, depending on what your nationality is, depending on what your culture is, depending on what you believe in, just like Jesus, when we pray to him, we see him as we want to see him, which is usually in our own image. Whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're Spanish, you may see a black Jesus, you might see a white Jesus. Some people may see a Puerto Rican Jesus. I don't know. It depends on their nationality and their culture. The same thing with Santa Claus. But again, it's not about the image, it's about getting into the spirit of Christmas, okay? So, for you religious gurus, right, that like to force your beliefs and your perspectives on other people, again, we shouldn't do that. I myself, even though I have my spiritual beliefs, even though I have my perspective, I kind of have to put that aside and get to the person in a way that that person can relate and understand the content, because that's what is at stake here, the content, the meaning of it all. How we get there doesn't matter as long as we get there, okay? So again, for me, Santa Claus is for some people who need that extra to help them get into the spirit of Christmas, okay? Now, with that being said, I know a lot of us have our own ideas about how we celebrate Christmas. For some, people get caught up on the money, how much we spend, the tree, the decorations, the food, the gifts. While others may say, oh, Christmas isn't about the money. Okay. Let's just take that piece right there, okay? So, however you choose to celebrate Christmas, like I said, we are all given the freedom of choice. For some of us, we may have the money to splurge. For some of us, buying gifts is our love language. And when you talk about religion, didn't the three wise men go to the what do you call it? The stable where Mary and Joseph and Jesus laid, right? The three wise men brought gifts. They brought gold, silver, incense. Back then, that is what they considered gifts. That is the tradition. That's what they did. They brought gifts to the baby Jesus. So for some people, buying gifts is a part of the Christmas spirit, the gift of giving, a love language. But let us not get caught up in the material things because not all of us have the means to express our love through gifts. We may not have the financial resources to be able to buy the gifts. However, there are other gifts that you can give people in place of the material things, like your time, your love, being there for somebody. These are all gifts. For me, I love to celebrate Christmas just because I love Jesus. I would love to celebrate him every day, but especially on Christmas because this is the day that society has designated for not just me, but for millions of people, whether they go to church or not, whether they actually read their Bible or not. On this one day, lots of people beyond me, beyond my community, celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. I don't find that to be a bad thing. Also, if you've read my book, God's Gift to You, Book One, you will come to realize that I, as a child, knew nothing about Christmas. So my mother had four children by three different men, and they were all battling the disease of addiction, which meant there was no money because all the money was being spent to keep up their habit. Okay. The three fathers that are involved with my mother's four children never even brought their children presents for Christmas. In my mother's immediate household, none of the adults talked about God, Jesus, religion, the Bible, church. I, as a child growing up in my mother's household, knew nothing about God or Jesus or religion or church or the Bible. Can you imagine? As far as Christmases go, I can only remember two Christmases out of my childhood, and they were years apart from each other. So I remember the very first Christmas we had. We were little kids then, and it was the first Christmas I ever remember having in my mother's household. And the unity, even though we had like this rough life and the relationships between a mother and her children and the relationship between the siblings was so toxic and so twisted. That first Christmas, like, you didn't think about the toxicity, you didn't think about the things that took place every day in life. It was just that one day that we felt whole, that we felt like a family, that we felt like there was love in the house because that didn't happen very often. And even that first Christmas, like, we didn't know it was because of the birth of Jesus Christ. We didn't know that this is why this event was taking place. We were little kids. We didn't think about that stuff. All we knew is there was a tree. It had pretty blinking lights on it. There were presents. Like in my family, we hardly ever got presents. There was no birthdays to celebrate because the adults were so caught up in active addiction. Some days your birthday would come and go and you wouldn't even be acknowledged, okay? So for this Christmas to take place, it was like amazing. And of course, after that first and only Christmas, it was a long time, like years had gone by before we had another Christmas. This was our second Christmas that I can remember. And again, on that day, things shifted. We didn't think about the abuse that was being done from the adults to the children. We didn't think about the toxicity between the siblings because we weren't taught like how to love one another or how to care for one another or how to keep one another safe. And of course, as siblings, we just learned to do these things on our own, even though we were physically violent to one another because of the examples that we got from the adults that surrounded us. We grew up in violence. Like these adults would like physically fist fight one another over drugs, over money, and we as children, we watched this behavior between the adults and it became a learned behavior towards amongst the children. Also, the adults were very physically violent towards the children. So, of course, the family dynamics, like the siblings, like this was all we knew. Like we were very violent with one another. But on this one day, you didn't think about all that stuff. You just knew there was this tree and it had like these blinking lights on it and there were presents. Even though nobody explained it to us, we were kids. We didn't question it. We just went with it. So those were the only two Christmases that I ever remember having as a child. And because my parents were so toxic and violent towards each other and towards the children, eventually the Department of Social Services showed up and took the children from the home. I myself went into protective custody where I wasn't allowed to have contact with my mother for many years. Also, meaning that I didn't have contact with my father for many years. Also, meaning I didn't have contact with my siblings for many years. So, there were many years throughout my childhood that I grew up not knowing where my family was, my mom, my dad, my siblings. So again, Christmas would come and go and it meant absolutely nothing to us. Like we didn't acknowledge it. I didn't get excited about it. It was just such a strange and twisted way of thinking about Christmas. Anyhow, today I share this information with people in the hopes that people can get a better understanding about celebrating Christmas. I myself have always taught my only child and my only grandchild the meaning of Christmas, the birth of Jesus Christ, and why we should celebrate Christmas, why we should celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. I want them to be able to have a day to not be so confused about all the information that is presented to us throughout life, about religion, what is real, what's not real, um, what it is, what it's not. Like just one day that they don't have to be presented with that content and be confused about it. That one day that they can just woosah, breathe, and enjoy the spirit of Christmas. For me, it became important because as an adult, I have no good memories of Christmas. I have no good memories of celebrating Christmas every year. Like I said, I do have the two memories, but that's it. And as an adult, when I think about Christmas, outside of those two Christmases that I share with you guys, there aren't a lot of memories about Christmas. There aren't a lot of memories about people loving each other and pouring love into one another and building good memories, that will last you a lifetime. So, regardless to how later on in the years I began to learn about religion, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, the Holy Bible. I started to research all this content and all this information. It was still important for me to celebrate Christmas Day with I only have one child. So, yes, I celebrated Christmas with her. I didn't want the religious aspect to have me close minded. Again, no one knows the exact date that Jesus was born, but society gave us a date that we can all acknowledge that Jesus existed. I wanted to make that day special for my daughter and for my grandson. Like, it doesn't matter what I believe, to make memories, good memories, and give them good memories. Of course, we celebrate Jesus every day, we acknowledge him every day. But again, the world has dedicated December 25th to be able to recognize him and us people as a whole acknowledge it's not even just about the birth of Jesus Christ. It's about loving on people. Um, so yes, I gave my daughter Christmases. Yes, I give my grandson Christmases. Children one day are going to grow up and they're going to start acquiring information and content throughout the years as they grow up. And one day they're going to come to that realization of their own about what Christmas is and what Christmas isn't. But to take their innocence from them before they're ready. Yes, we want to teach them the true meaning of Christmas, but we also want them to keep their innocence and be happy and know what it is to celebrate and give them good memories so that when they're adults, they will have that. As far as the material things, okay, it's not so much as important as it is that you just be there for them. Like I said, there were years that I didn't even know where my mother was as a child. There were years when I didn't even know where my father was as a child. There were years when I didn't even know where my siblings were as a child. I spent many days wondering where they were. Are they okay? Are they well? Instead of being there together with them and loving on them. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going in deep with the Christmas stuff, guys. I just want to give people a different perspective, help some of you guys get into the Christmas spirit. Again, it doesn't matter about the material things if you have them or if you don't have them. Just make the best out of that day. And for the parents, whether you're a single mom or a single dad or married couple with children and life happens and the finances aren't what you think it should be, you can still give the gift of the spirit of Christmas. Most children, while they might be a little sad that they don't have all the expensive material things that they would like to have, the most important memory is whether or not you were there. Because for a lot of children, we didn't know where our parents were. So just by you being there in that child's life is going to be gift enough. Don't let material things keep you from being in the spirit of Christmas. Extend the spirit of Christmas to your children, to your loved ones around you, even if you don't have the material possessions. Because while they might feel a certain way about not having the material possessions, I'm going to tell you, as a child growing up without her mom, as a child growing up without her father, as a child growing up without her siblings, like that was the most important thing to me. So, of course, now that I have my siblings in my life and my parents in my life, yes, I celebrate Christmas. On December 25th, I put up that tree. I put all the sparkly lights and all the sparkly things on there. I buy gifts and I put them under the tree. And it fills my heart with joy that I can extend the spirit of Christmas to others. Because that's what it's really about. I hope that my message resonated with a lot of you guys. And I'm just, like I said, for those who may be able to identify with me when I share my experiences with you as a child, okay? I didn't grow up knowing every year when Christmas was going to come. I didn't grow up getting excited knowing that Christmas was coming. Christmas came and went. It was just another day for me because I was so caught up in where my mother was, where my siblings were, where was my father. I didn't have any of that stuff. So I share my story with you guys to encourage you and to enlighten you. Doesn't matter what your situation is, whether you're out there alone in the world like I was, or whether you are with your family, your friends, your loved ones, just celebrate life. Just be in the spirit of Christmas. Like I said, I missed a lot in my childhood years, not knowing where my mom was, where my dad was, or where my siblings were. But eventually, things shifted and we were back into each other's lives. And from there, we picked up from there and we learned to embrace one another. So I hope that this encourages some people out there. Now we're going to move on beyond Christmas, guys. That was my take on Christmas. Happy holidays. Yes, I'm in my Santa hat and my little star earrings. My Grinch. I love Christmas, guys. Anyhow. So yeah, you guys, I haven't been up here. I haven't done a live in such a long time because I felt like I needed to take a little mental health break. Um, and I did take a trip down to North Carolina with a cousin of mine to visit other family members, cousins and aunts and uncles, and it was a well-needed break. I had a wonderful time. I got to see couple of my aunties who I haven't seen. Like we talk, we text, whatever, but to actually be able to see them and hug them. And every time I would hug my auntie, I would tell her, make it last, make it last. Yeah. Anywho. So I wanted to address, as you guys know, I am a big advocate for mental health awareness, mental health wellness tied to education. Let me tell you, God's gift to me. You guys, let's talk about the gift of knowledge, the gift of discernment. Okay. I know a lot of us out there, we ask our higher beings to give us knowledge and wisdom and discernment. We ask for these gifts. But let me tell you guys, now, I believe that our higher power gives us all gifts. It's not just one of us that's blessed, or five of us that's blessed, or 10 of us that's blessed, or 50 of us that's blessed. And I hate when I'm on social media scrolling and people be talking about how blessed they are. Like we are all blessed. Please do not let social media have you confused, have you weighed down because you feel like God gave somebody else more than what he gave you. We about to clear that information up right now, okay? So God gives us all gifts, okay? I myself have the gift of knowledge, wisdom, discernment, right? And it didn't happen overnight. I'm in my 50s, okay? I lived a long time. I have experienced so many things in the 50 something years that I've been on this earth. Good experiences, bad experiences. I have what is called street knowledge because I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, Roxbury, Dorchester neighborhood. I lived in a community where all the adults were battling the disease of addiction. There was a lot of toxicity between the adults and the children. Um, but one of the gifts that I did get along the way is that even though I had this horrific childhood, right, I was still able to eventually go to school. So I'm talking about how do I want to put this? I have to be careful with my words. I'm talking about the structured institution education as far as degrees, okay? I have, like I said, the street knowledge because of my environment that I grew up in. I grew up in Roxbury and Dorchester in the 70s and the 80s, where all the young adults were battling the disease of addiction, and it was crazy. Been there, did that. Through God's grace and mercy, I survived it, but I got a lot of lessons along the way when it comes to things about the streets. Again, God gave me another gift where I was able to still go to these structured institutions and get that structured education as far as degrees. I also have a relationship with my higher power, whom I choose to call God. And with that comes the tools of the Holy Bible that I have read many times from beginning to end and everything in between, and I've read it several times. Um, so God has given me years of wisdom, years of knowledge, right? And I'm gonna tell you, be careful what you ask for. I believe that God gives us all knowledge and all wisdom on certain things. I may have a lot of knowledge and wisdom in one area and know nothing about some other areas. Um, but I got to tell you, when God does give us the gift of knowledge and wisdom, it is heavy, man. It is heavy. And even though I believe God gives us all knowledge and gives us all wisdom, I also believe that there's this saying, right? God only gives you, oh, how does it go? It says, my brain's going too fast. Oh God, how do I say this? So God only gives us what we can handle, okay? And I believe that now this is just my opinion, okay? It's not a fact, okay? But I'm gonna tell you, I've been on this earth for 50 something years, and I've seen a lot, I've done a lot, I survived a lot. Anywho, God only gives us the knowledge that He believes we are going to be able to handle. I'm gonna tell you guys something that y'all probably don't know, right? Our brains are such a funny thing, right? You have doctors, you have psychiatrists, you have counselors, you have all these people trying to figure out the human body, right? Because it's such a complex system, right? And you have people that invest money into years of education trying to study the mind and the body, right? Trying to figure out what God created, right? But only God knows. And I'm going to tell you guys this, right? I don't think God gives us all the knowledge that He has because I don't think not one of us will be able to handle it, which is why, even though God gives us all knowledge and wisdom, right? I believe He only gives us as much as each one of us can handle. So some of us may have more knowledge and wisdom than others only because God knows what we can and what we can't handle. If God opened up our brains like all the way to expose us to all of His wisdom and all of His knowledge, I don't think we'd be able to handle it. If you ever notice, right, a lot of people that quote unquote go crazy, right, be some smart people. They be smart, smart, which is proof to me that, again, God only gives us what He believes we can handle. For me, okay, let's just say for me, right? So I have a relationship with my higher power, right? And I ask Him to give me knowledge, wisdom, discernment, right? But when I ask Him for those gifts, right? I have to stay close to Him. I have to stay plugged in. I have to stay connected to Him because I know that it is only with Him that I would be strong enough to carry this knowledge, this wisdom, this information, this discernment, because it is heavy. It is heavy. When God gives us knowledge and wisdom, right, and we don't stay connected to Him where He can help us carry the weight of that wisdom and knowledge, that's why people lose their damn minds. It's too much. I know for me, right? Some days I have great anxiety because There's so much information and there's so much knowledge and there's so much wisdom in there. And it's swimming around and it's going so fast. And some days I'd be like, oh my God, I can't take it. When it gets that heavy, I know that I'm slipping away from God and I need to draw closer to Him because I can only carry this wisdom and knowledge that He gives me if I'm connected to Him so He can help me carry it because it is heavy. Some days I am full of anxiety, like shortness of breath, can't breathe because there's so much going on in here. And I'd be like, really, God? But I asked for it, right? I asked for this knowledge. I asked for this wisdom, right? Which ties to that piece, right? Do not lean on your own understanding, right? Because God understands far more than we are capable of understanding. I'm telling you guys, if God opened up our brains to his wisdom and his knowledge, and you're not connected to him where he can help you carry that wisdom and knowledge, a lot of people snap, quote unquote, crazy. Ain't that what they sometimes people be like, they refer to me as being crazy. But what people don't understand, right? Sometimes some people have so much knowledge, so much wisdom, so much information, so much content. It is heavy. It is a heavy weight to bear. And if we are not connected to the source who provides us with that gift, so that source can help us carry it, and we take all this knowledge and we separate ourselves from the person who gives it to us, we're going to fall. We're going to fall. Again, which is why God gives us each knowledge and wisdom, but He puts so much in this one, so much in that one, so much in that one, because He knows you and He knows your relationship with him, and he knows some of us are going to stay close to him so that he can give us that knowledge and that wisdom and help us carry it. But some of us are going to take that information and move away from God, and then they start to fall because the information is too heavy. It's too heavy for you to carry by yourself. So you have to stay connected so that when you ask for the gift of knowledge and wisdom and discernment, he can help you carry it. Because alone, you cannot. You can't carry it. All the doctors in the world that spend millions of dollars trying to figure out the human mind and body, and nobody knows all the answers because they're leaning on their own understanding. God don't expose them to the knowledge and the wisdom that he has, because I don't think none of us will be able to take it. How about that? I'm just going to peek at my notes here. You guys, I'm telling you, I haven't done a live in a while, right? Because I needed time to be connected. I needed guidance. I needed my higher power to help me to carry the weight of the knowledge and the wisdom. Because again, when you ask for knowledge and when you ask for wisdom, you have to stay connected to the source who's providing you with that information, because you need him to help you carry it all, because it is heavy. What I mean by that is a lot of people will sometimes think that I'm crazy or I'm off my meds because they don't understand the knowledge, the wisdom that my higher power has blessed me with. But I have to stay close to him so that he can help me carry it, because if not, I will go crazy. It's a lot of information. And you need to not only carry it, but you have to figure out what to do with it. And only God can provide you those answers, which is why you have to stay close to him when you ask for knowledge and wisdom and discernment, because you alone are not going to be able to carry it. And again, he only gives us so much, because if he opens our brains all the way up to his knowledge and his wisdom, I don't think we can handle it. I've seen it. I've seen many of people. These people, there was a guy years ago in the news, right? He was in a college. He was smart. And he killed that woman and hid her body in the wall at the college. I think it's because he was too smart. You know, God gave him wisdom and knowledge, but somewhere along the line, he left his connection to God and he tried to carry that wisdom and that knowledge on his own, and it was too much for him. He snapped. He snapped. What about in the news a few years ago? That guy, he was in college studying forensics and he went to that off campus dorm at a college and killed all those people, the girls, the guy, I think it was like three girls and a guy. And he went in there and he killed all them people because he was smart. He was in college. He was up there in years in education. He had been studying for years, right? Gaining wisdom and knowledge. And, you know, his course of study was forensics. Like he had all this information. But because now this is just my opinion, guys. So don't take me serious. I mean, take me serious and what I'm saying, pay attention, right? Because he wasn't connected to the source who gave him that wisdom and knowledge. He wasn't connected to the source to help him carry the weight of that wisdom and knowledge. He couldn't handle it. He snapped. I can go on with stories of people who have snapped and took many lives. People who were intelligent, smart, had a lot of knowledge. But again, you cannot expect God to give you wisdom and knowledge and you don't stay connected to him so that he can help you carry that wisdom and knowledge because it's heavy for humans. It's heavy for us. Anywho, so we had a storm last night, a windstorm. You guys, it's like December 11th. We haven't had not one drop of snow yet, right? In New England, which is odd for us, right? Climate change, right? That's what they say, right? I mean, I'm sure there's many different perspectives of why the weather has shifted the way it has. So here we are, December 11th, right? Not really a lot of rain. We've had rain, but not much, right? No snow, but we did get a storm last night where I think it was like rain and wind, but the biggest part was the wind, okay? So, as you guys know, right? I haven't done a live in a long time, right? I was taking a little mental break, right? But just because I take a break and I'm not sharing my wisdom and I'm not sharing my knowledge doesn't mean it's not in there and it's a lot and it's like, oh God, right? Because God gave me this wisdom and this knowledge and he wants to use it. He's using me as his tool, as his vessel to speak life into people, to speak in his purpose, right? Because I'm gonna tell you guys, right? If you read my book, God's Gift to You, book one, right? God brought me through some stuff, right? God carried me. He brought me through some stuff, some things that gave me some experiences in life, right? And it's a lot, right? It's so much, in fact, that if I don't stay connected to God, I probably will break. So it's very important that I have this relationship with my higher power because the things that he has placed in me throughout the years, all the good experiences, all the bad experiences, all the wisdom, all the knowledge, it's heavy. I'm telling you guys, it's heavy. And if I don't stay connected to the source who gives it all to me, I could snap, I could break. So I know how important it is to stay connected to the source who gives me the knowledge and the wisdom so that he can help me carry it. So if you've read my book, God's Gift to You, book one, you know that I've gone through some things in this life and God put some things inside of me, right? And the purpose of it all. The purpose, when I asked my higher power, what was the purpose of it all? He told me to take that knowledge and that wisdom, to take those experiences, the good and the bad, and share it with my people. Let me use you as a tool, as a vessel to speak to my people. And there are times when I be like, no, God, we're not doing that. God gives us a purpose, right? God gives, he puts something in us to use for his own good. And when we refuse to let God use us for his purpose, that stuff festers and it starts to mess with you mentally, physically. You stop feeling like you can't relax because you got all this stuff that God put inside of you and you don't know what to do with it because you're not doing what God told you to do with it. You're sitting there, you're holding it, you're trying to hold on to it, and it makes you tight, it makes you anxious. You're just like, oh my God, right? When God puts something in you and God needs to use you for his purpose and you refuse, you guys, I'm telling you. So I haven't done a live in a while because I felt like I needed to take a step back, and stay close to my higher power and work some things out between me and my higher power, right? So my grandson had a birthday party this weekend. He turned 8 years old. And of course, I'm going to go to my grandbaby's birthday party. It's my only grandchild. Grandma's never missed a birthday party. So I was at this birthday party and I must have ate some things that I don't normally eat. It's a party. We're celebrating. There's things there that I didn't cook, or, you're at a party, you're eating things you don't normally eat. So that evening, I had a lot of heartburn, and I tried everything to get rid of the heartburn because I don't usually get heartburn. So I don't keep stuff in the house to treat heartburn. So I had this heartburn, and I'm like, oh God, like I'm eating ice cream, I'm drinking water, like I'm trying to think of everything I can to get rid of this heartburn. And it was so uncomfortable, right? And I couldn't shake it, I couldn't get rid of it. But I was able to calm it down enough that I could like go to bed and go to sleep. Because of this storm, right? So we have this I have like there's trees all around my house where I live, okay? But there's this especially big tree behind my house on the side of my house where my bedroom is. It's a big tree and it's not on this property, it's on someone else's property. So therefore, we are not responsible for the maintenance work of this extremely large tree. And the peoples whose property it's on, they don't maintain the tree. They don't do anything with it. The tree is huge, it's old, it's overgrown, whatever. Usually the tree is not a problem. It's a nice tree. But because of the storm and the wind, it blew some of the branches of the tree where the branches are hanging down from the tree, and the branches are so long that it extends over onto our property. Tell me why one of the tree branches was like banging up against my window during the night, right? It woke me up out of my sleep. I'm like, what the heck? It's the middle of the night, like 2, 3 in the morning. I got woken up because this tree branch is banging on my window. I get out of bed. I look out the window, it's dark, I can't see, but I hear this tree branch banging on my window, and I thought, "Oh my god, this tree branch is going to break my window." It's the middle of the night, it's raining, the wind is shaking the walls, it's the wind is powerful. It's dark, I can't see outside, but I can hear the tree banging on the window, and I think, "Oh my god, this tree branch is going to break my window." So I'm full of anxiety, and I realize there's nothing I can do about it. It's the middle of the night. So I had to surrender to it. Got back in my bed and was like, well, if it breaks the window, it breaks the window. There's really nothing I can do about it right now. So I'm in my bed. I'm woke. It's like 2 in the morning. I realize the heartburn is still there. I'm listening to the tree branch hit my window, and I'm thinking, oh God. And I had to surrender. But then I realized my higher power starts talking to me. Now, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm awake and I'm communicating with my higher power. And I'm starting to wonder, is that God trying to get my attention? He's trying to call me to do something. Mind you, I haven't done a live in a long time. And every day I live with the anxiety of all this wisdom and all this knowledge that God put in me. And I know that I'm supposed to be doing something with all this wisdom and all this knowledge, but I haven't been doing it because I needed a mental break from doing lives. I needed a mental break from social media. I'm gonna fall back and it's just gonna be me and my God communicating with each other all day, every day, and me just enjoying my life and my time with my higher power and just chilling. Last night, God started talking to me. He says, "My daughter, you're not doing what I'm telling you to do. You're not working on the assignment that I have given you." And I'm just like, really, God? This 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, really? So God and I are communicating. And eventually I went back to sleep. I woke up this morning and the first thing I did was look out my window. It's daytime now. I can see the branch. It's long. It's a big tree. The branches are thick and they're long. So I get some shears from my kitchen and I go to my window. I lift it up. I reach up. I grab the branch. And it took me a while, but I managed to break the branch in half. Closed the window, and I said, "That's that. Problem solved. I don't have to worry about the branch being blown up against my window and full of anxiety that it's going to break the window." So I don't have that problem anymore. Of course, my heartburn is gone. God's still talking to me. Continued from last night. I wake up, I'm full of anxiety because God's in my head and he's telling me to do some things and of course I'm anxious cuz now I know I got the assignment. I heard you, God. I'm going to do what you told me to do. So now I start going through my day, showering, getting dressed, doing the hair, trying to put it together, and I'm trying to rush through it so I can get to the place where God wants me to be, which is why I am here doing a live now because it's been a long time. And let me tell you, I was enjoying it. I was chilling. But God said, "My daughter, you had a long enough break. I need you to get back in position to allow me to continue to use you, to share with my people the things that I placed in you." So I am here. I am calm in spirit now. I got back in position for my higher power to use me, and here I am. So it's 1:14. We're going to start closing it out. I got 15 minutes, right? And I want to share this last thing with you guys, okay? Because it is the holidays and we are talking about the holidays, okay? So, in my days of taking a break from doing lives, I still go on social media. I still scroll. I still see a lot of things, a lot of content. I'm getting a lot of information and I'm scrolling through all the different social media platforms and I'm getting all kinds of information from over here, from over there, and I'm scrolling and I'm processing all this information and I see stuff and I'm like, my God, which is probably why God woke me up in the middle of the night and told me to get back in position. So here I am. So I seen this thing on social media, right? This lady, she had a good job, she had a good career, was making good money, live in a good community, good home. Tell me why this chick was on social media crying about being poor. And I'm looking at the background of her house and I'm looking at the career path that she chose and how much of a salary that career path provides her. And she's bawling her eyes out talking about being poor. And I'm thinking, it is the strangest thing to me. Some people don't know what it is to be poor, right? Now, I'm going to share this, guys, with you, okay? We all know that I have been in recovery, recovering from battling the disease of addiction. I have 18 plus years clean. Within that 18-year plus clean, okay, I have been jobless, incomeless, homeless, manless, you name it. I've done it, right? And even when I was jobless, penniless, homeless, and without a man, I still didn't consider myself to be poor. For me, in religion, in the Holy Bible, it talks about being poor. And this is why I tell people all the time why you need to stay connected. Because apart from God, you're not going to be able to handle some stuff, okay? We're talking about the Holy Bible. Now, again, I'm not a religious person. We're talking about being spiritual in nature, okay? And even though I'm not religious, I do believe in God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. I do believe in the Holy Bible. I read the Holy Bible from front cover to back cover many times over, research, study. And let me tell you what I've learned about being poor. Being poor means to be without God. As long as God is with me, I will never be poor. Even without a job, even without an income, without a home, being homeless, not having a man to fall back on, I never considered myself poor. I never felt poor. This woman is in this beautiful house in a beautiful community. House is laid out. The career path that she chose brings her a good income. Okay. Some of us aren't educated enough to even get a good job. Poor, for me, being poor means that I don't have God. Because with God, I am never poor. I may be without some things, but poor I am not. And for people who may be going through stuff right now, you might be homeless, you might be jobless, you might not have an income. As long as you have God, you are far from poor because I've been there. I was homeless more than once within that 18 plus year period of being clean. Okay. So I couldn't blame it on being an active addiction. The reason why I was jobless, penniless, homeless, and manless, couldn't blame it on active addiction. Could have been, sometimes working, the work market, it's hard. You might end up with a good job, you may not. You might end up with a job that you like, you may not, but it's a job. I've worked a job for 2 years. Let me tell you. So I went to school throughout my life, right? I have degrees, I have education, right? And I ended up working for a job. I went from making probably like 25, 30 bucks an hour to working a job that was paying me $10 an hour. And I had an apartment at that time that I had to pay market price rent for, right? I don't know how I did it, but I made that $10 an hour work on my behalf. My rent was paid every month in full. And I still didn't have a man to fall back on. And I still had to pay car insurance, phone bill, light bill, off for $10 an hour. I don't understand how this woman, you know, so I worked that job making $10 an hour for 2 years before I was able to move on to get a better job because, I took that job. I went from working in doctor's offices, making 25, 30 bucks an hour, to working in what is called DSP, which is direct support professionals, where we are caretakers of young adults who have autism, Down syndrome, behavioral problems, they're nonverbal, it's all kind of stuff, right? But because I was new to that field and I didn't have the experience, I had to get a job making $10 an hour. And I stayed there for 2 years to gain the experience that I needed to then take that experience with me to my next job, paying me $22 an hour. So I went from working in the doctor's office, making damn near $25, $30 an hour, to working in a new field, making $10 an hour for 2 years to build up the experience that I needed in the new field, to take that experience with me along my journey to the next job that now is paying me like $21, $22 an hour because I have the experience that I needed now. So at that job for 2 years, where I settled for $10 an hour, I was getting something else out of it. I was getting the experience that I needed to better my situation. So then I moved on to the next job, which was getting 20, 20, 21, $22 an hour because now I have the experience. Poor? And I'm going to tell you, even in my last job, where I was with this company for 5 years, I recently got fired from that job after 5 years. Okay. In September, they let me go. The end of September, they let me go. But within that 5 years that I was at that company making that good money, I was putting money away for that rainy day. Didn't know it was coming, didn't foresee it coming, but this is what being connected to God does for you. He gives you the wisdom, he gives you the knowledge, he guides your footsteps because he can see things far beyond that you can't even begin to understand. In that 5-year period of time, I was setting some things up, building future wealth. Little did I know that job was going to fire me after 5 years. Was I sad that they fired me? Absolutely. I mean, I was at this company for 5 years. I had to have been doing something right. right? Even though they ripped me up many times, and it was never about my work performance, it was always about it's not what I say, but how I said it, because it was always about some coworkers going back to management, boohoo and crying about something I said to them. And it's not what I said, it's how I said it. 5 years at this company, being loyal to this company, getting up at 5 a.m., winter, if it was a blizzard out, direct support professionals are essential staff, and they don't care if it's a blizzard outside. They expect you to be at your job when it's time for you to be at your job. They don't care that it's a blizzard out. They don't care that your car is buried in snow. They don't care that while you're driving on the highway, you can't even see what lane you're in because it's snowing and there's snow everywhere. They expect you to be at that job. And I did that for 5 years. And I never got complaints about the performance of my job. I never got complaints about my ability to do the job. It was always he said, she said. I said something to some coworker, and that coworker didn't receive the information in a healthy way. And it wasn't what I said, it was how I said it. But I was good at my job. There was a lot of people that loved me at my job. 5 years I've been with this company. I had to have been doing something right. And after 5 years, they decided to let me go. So, yes, I was heartbroken because within that 5 years, I built relationships with some people who I cared for, people who I loved, people who cared for me, people who loved me. But there was some people, there was some, and I'm going to tell you, I have a relationship with my higher being. I'm a child who has survived some horrific child abuse. So I know what to do and what not to do when it comes to relationships. I read and study the Holy Bible. That's a tool that comes with my relationship with my higher power, who guides me and teaches me about love and respect and all this stuff, right? But even with all that information, sometimes people are going to bump heads. Sometimes it may cost you your job. But because God knows me and God knows my heart, God knows me. I take him to work with me every day. He sees me. So for that 5 years, he has been guiding my footsteps and had his hands in my finances and was telling me, put money over here, put money over there. And at the time, I didn't understand the plan. I didn't understand why I was stashing money here and stashing money here and investing money here and investing money there. But God knew. So when they let me go, yeah, I got shook for a minute. I mean, I'm human. Had the job for 5 years. My life has been good. Lost my job after 5 years. Sure, I panicked for a moment, but then I remembered whose child I am. And I remembered how he guided my footsteps within that 5 year period. And then I realized I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. So, for this woman on social media who has a good career, she chose a career that pays her well. Like, if you were connected to God and you got knowledge and wisdom and you have a relationship with your God who's supposed to be like guiding your footsteps, you mean to tell me you didn't put no money away nowhere? You didn't prepare financially for that rainy day? But even still, you still got your house, a beautiful house. That house is laid. You sitting up there crying about being poor? Girl, let me tell you something. If you got God in your life, you are not poor, honey. I don't care what you got, what you don't got, material wise. Like I said, I've been jobless, homeless, penniless, manless, but never poor. Never poor. Time's up, guys. This is Johnny B, also known as Johnny Belinda Hopkins, new published author of the book titled God's Gift to You, Book One. I hope you guys enjoyed today's session. I'll see you again soon. Bye. Be well out there.